Hi, my name's Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter, or Blue Sky or X or whatever thing he's on. That's how famous he is. Is he's on all of them? On all of them. Chris, is it Blue Sky? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Although in my head I call it blue ski for some reason.
Blue Sky. Maybe it is. Huh?
But the
Like
Y makes the E sound.
like when people call beers brewskis, and it was playing on that.
Oh,
Like crack open a and you don't tweet. You crack open a brewski, a blueski,
that,
when you
yeah.
I feel like an old person. Welcome to Avatar: The Last Podcasters. Today, Chris is going to take us through some recent news announcements,
Speculation,
confirm,
rumors,
not confirmations, and the opposite,
no confirmation.
pictures that we're not going to show you, but we're going to talk about them, and then the timeline. There were changes made or things said that changed
Hmm.
the way that Chris and I at least observed the Avatar timeline historically.
Yes,
And so we'll talk about that as
that's
well.
actually confirmed. Even though I'm very curious about it, we'll get into it.
Yeah. And then after that, no, nothing after that. No, before that. So it's been a pretty long week. Chris, speaking of which, before we get to that, how are you? How have you been? What are you up to?
I've been great. Been great. I since we last talked, I bought a Quest 3S. Because the new Batman game, Batman Arkham Shadow, was out, and the Quest 3S. One, I was upset that it wasn't on the Quest 2, because Quest 2 isn't like an old system, like it, or I say system, like it came out probably 3 years ago,
That
somewhere
feels
around there.
right.
Uh, and I have a Quest 2, and I was kind of mad it didn't come out on the Quest 2 as well. I don't understand. Some people are mad. Some like Arkham fans are really mad that it didn't come out to consoles. I'm like, that's not the point of the game. The point of the game was to be a VR game, not to be a console game. Like a VR studio made the game. This and it wasn't like they made a choice. It wasn't like they chose between making a game for everything or just making a VR game. They were just making a VR game. There was no world where this studio was making a console game. So you're mad for nothing.
Also,
Um,
it's like the one thing that VR people have that console people don't. So it's fine.
yeah, yeah.
They'll be fine.
But I had to justify this purchase to myself. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get the 3S. I'm gonna trade in my Quest 2 for $100. Also, the game itself comes free on the 3S. It also comes free on the 3. So in my head, I'm like, you know what? I would have spent that $50 on the game, even if it was on the Quest 2, but it comes with the Quest 3. So really, I'm spending $150 for the Quest 3S. Um, I didn't end up trading in my Quest 2. I just kind of gave it to my kids and let them use it because I don't want them to use a very expensive piece of hardware that you physically move around on. It's like, hey, you want to play the PS5 and just shake it around and stuff and move around the house? No, I don't want you to break that. Um,
That's why you have this PS4 that's just as good as Daddy's PlayStation right here.
I do let my daughter play PS, and my son play PS5 wants to. But thanks to you, Sean, you showed me that they were doing a coupon recently. It's no longer happening, but they did a $75 credit with the purchase of 3S after I already bought the freaking 3S. So I bought another 3S just so I can get that $75 credit and returned it immediately after, but returned it underneath the old purchase that I did. Amazon, you're not gonna get one over on me, okay?
That's funny to think about of like what's your line today, right? So $75 you did the thing cuz it's worth the time versus the $75. It's like what's your line today versus 10 years ago, right? So if you told me, Shawn, 30 minutes of effort to get back $20, I'd be like, nah, that's probably not. 10 years ago, absolutely. Today, No.
I think I would. I. It's funny because I think maybe I'm just cheap because I bought that. We did this whole Black Ad. We talked about the Black Adam statue
Hmm?
one time that I returned. I bought it because it was like
40 to
$17. It was really
15
cheap.
or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
like
yeah.
20 bucks at least
But then
saved.
yeah, yeah. But then it went on like really sale for $12, and I did do that whole rigmarole on that as well. But I was probably already going to the post office, and so I think that at that point I was just like, all right, well, I'm already doing this, going out of my way. I might as well just get $5
You
while I
you understood the time commitment, the additional time commitment for the $5. I can respect that.
yeah, yeah. Long story short, though, Batman Arkham VR, I've completed the game, and it is great. It's the best VR game I've played. Um, it it's it's probably, and this comes from a Batman fan. It is, I would say, if you can afford it, if a Batman fan can afford it, it is a must-have experience to play as Batman. Like it feels that great. Like you're punching villains and bad guys and stuff. Also, it's a great story. It's probably my second favorite story of any of the Arkham series. It takes place right after Arkham Origins, which I love Arkham Origins. If I had to rank it, if I had to rank all the Arkham games, just on my personal favorite type of list, it would go Origins, City, Shadow, Asylum, and then Night. So
That's pretty high praise for
yeah.
probably the greatest superhero video game franchise ever. I'm gonna
Oh,
say,
without a doubt.
I'm gonna say probably because the Spider-Man games, the recent ones, are really good, but there's only three of them,
Yeah,
and Miles
three.
Morales is pretty short. So I
It's
think,
really short. Yeah.
like 2.5 great games versus 5 great games is enough for me to be like, yeah, that's the track record is there. That's awesome though. Oh, it now I'm just thinking about other superhero video games I love. Do you remember Incredible Hulk on GameCube and PS2 and it might have been on Xbox?
I did not play it, but I
Okay.
remember it.
It's not that it's a good game, it's just one of those, it's almost like Rampage, the video game, but in a Hulk costume where you care way more about just wrecking an entire city than you do about whatever else is going. Great game. Man, now I want to go play that. Anyway, Chris, I'm glad that you got it, and I'm glad it's fun because VR needs some VR needs some big hitters game wise.
Yeah.
Pretty bad actually. So I'm glad to see that it's getting some successful love. Eh, let's let's talk about news.
Hmm.
Talk me through news and updates.
Talk about rumors and why did this go to TikTok? That's annoying. All right. So the next Avatar series, which hasn't been announced, I don't think officially, but we all know that they're coming out with the next Avatar series for the Avatar after Korra. So I'm gonna read some rumors about that series that comes. Yeah, just take it with somewhat grain of salt. Anyway, the news is, so according to Night Edge Media, which they've been right probably 60% of the time, maybe that's generous. Um, they say, and I'm just gonna read straight from it. Sorry. So apparently, some like storyboards and stuff and animatics have been leaked. They say the next avatar will be a female. Following Avatar Korra, she will be seen as homeless young girl alongside her animal guide, who looks like a large feline type creature. She's also an amputee. She's missing her left leg. The series also takes place sometime in the future, as the storyboards look like people ride on hoverboards, though it could simply be someone airbending, as Night Media suggests. They also say that their source has given them additional context about what the state of the Avatar universe is at that time. They say, they even say, "Hey, we couldn't verify this, so label as a rumor." They say the four nations do not exist anymore in this time. The series will establish that some unknown cataclysmic event will occur that Avatar Korra will be forced to stop. She will, and in turn, be forced to reshape the entire world from the original four nations to seven new locations slash countries, or called havens. And they are told that could be the subtitle of the series. If that's the subtitle, that's a kind of cool subtitle, like Avatar Havens or Avatar New Haven. I don't know. I'm just spitballing stuff. I just like the word Haven. I think it's a cool word. Um, they go on to speculate. Night Edge themselves go on to speculate that this would effectively make Avatar Korra the most powerful Avatar known in her lore due to her ability to break and remake the world on her own. I think that could just be one. That just sounds like pure speculation. One thing, she's already the strongest Avatar. Anyway, and then Aang fans just immediately click. I don't want to hear this crap. Aang strong
You know how you
also.
talk to your grandma. They,
Um, so they do go on to. So before I go on, what do you think about that, Sean? About a potential future, almost post-apocalyptic slash futuristic havens and stuff type of a universe.
my opinion is purely biased because I do not ever, at no point in my life have I ever preferred like a sci-fi future takes on something
Yeah.
versus the like classic high fantasy swords or sorcery
Okay.
takes us, right? So I have a really hard time not thinking about like, oh, why does it got to be in the future? I don't know why my brain is that way. That being said, I think it's a brand new kind of blank canvas for them to work off of. And if they
Yeah.
set it far enough in the future and the world is essentially a different place, like that's a pretty big, interesting blank canvas to draw a new story on. So that's cool. I think it's just
Yeah.
my
You almost.
my gut reaction is just like, go backwards, not forwards. But I don't know that that's good advice. That's just Sean's brain.
Yeah. I mean, you almost. With how many Avatar stories have been told, it's like, all right, how many stories can we tell where the Avatar has a threat and they need to stop it? And so I get one thing. I understand that Mike and Bryan likes to do different stuff. Like they
Yeah,
don't like to tell the same
they don't
story.
retread really,
Yeah,
which is good.
yeah, yeah. So I think in that aspect, it's intriguing. Um, I would say that it does kind of mirror a little bit of their initial, and I'm not the only fan to make this connection. It does kind of mirror their initial concepts of Avatar. Like those first initial concepts were like Aang in kind of this future setting with with a
Robo Momo.
with the yeah with robotic Momo, um, with Naga and stuff. So I could see it'll be interesting for them to go back a little bit to like, hey, we had these random ideas. Like, how do those random ideas look now?
You know, if it's one reason I think that like video games or stories will choose like post apocalypse is because you have the opportunity to work with futuristic technology or futuristic ideas, but you still kind of get this sort of a bare minimum world. So you can like it's a good blend of most of the world has nothing, but I can also expand these big science ideas or whatever. I feel like that's what makes post apocalypse kind of a useful story structure for people. This doesn't sound really like post apocalypse, but I don't know if Korra blew up the world into seven different nations. That's kind of apocalypsy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
It's that time of
Um,
year.
yeah, it is. that time of year where my eczema kicks in and my skin is just freaking
Yeah.
dry.
I get really dry and lots of drainage for like 4 months and everything's stupid except for basketball.
Yeah. What do you think about? So we didn't get into it. I guess this is a good time as any to talk about the character. Um, Actually, no, we'll wait for that. Because this Night Media sent had two articles. The first one was a little more. The first one didn't have the leaked images and stuff. So let me continue on. We'll get to the main character. All right. The next thing they say is, um, what's the Avatar's born? So they say that once the new Earth Avatar is born, we learn she will actually be from a set of identical twin sisters. And this has been a huge fan theory on what would happen with twins. Even the Roku novel kind of played with that idea. Um, and they go on to say, nevertheless, these twins will be the focal point of the series. The White Lotus is expected to have taken one of the twins and raised her in wealth, as she is seen as the more powerful of the two. It's unknown if they are separated at birth or as toddlers, but the second twin somehow ends up cast aside and forgotten. She grows up on the streets of one of the New Havens with her animal guide. Eventually, the two twins are reunited and begin training together. As the non-Avatar twin is still very powerful and has actual training from the White Lotus. Again, this is speculation, but the series could eventually introduce both having. Okay, that's dumb. Sorry. Night Edge goes on to say, and that sounded mean of me for them, but anyway, Night Edge goes on to say, again, this is speculation, but the series could eventually introduce both having a part of Rava in them. Thus, technically, both are the Avatar, but that is unknown. They can also play with the dark and light Avatar stories again, but that seems like a retread of Legend of Korra season 2 and extremely underwhelming. Again, this is Night Edge's opinion. I think it. I said that was dumb thought of the Avatar being split because Rava is like fused with Wan's soul, right? And like you can't split a soul, and like that's to me that would just be dumb. Anyway,
This that
it would
that
make
all everything that you read just other than like the twins part, like that's a neat concept. There could be some foundation to that. It feels like just about everything you said after that has an air of like I don't know why, but like just that feels more speculative to me.
and they said they do point out that hey, we're just speculating at this point. The series could be about the Avatar
This
being split and
series
stuff.
also could
Even
be
from
about Marty McFly in the future in the same universe, like it. But nah, I don't know. There's a lot of that doesn't hold just a whole lot of weight to me.
yeah.
Other than I like the concept of twins and one being an avatar and other not. I would not care to see it go too far down a path of like Rava being split or something like that. But I generally like the idea of twins.
I do too. Yeah, I completely agree with you. The an Avatar twin theory to me. So I did a video. It's funny because it's gaining a little more traction lately because of this. I did a video a long time ago when I used to YouTube videos about how the Avatar twin theory could work. Thing is, it could have only ever worked in this very specific situation where in Legend of Korra Book Two Korra doesn't refuse with Rava, but Rava refuses with someone else, say like Janora or something. So now you have, but Korra, even when she didn't have Rava in her, she could still bend all four elements because she just unlocked. She had those chi paths unlocked in her herself, even though she wasn't connected to Rava. Like you see, that's not me speculating. And she could airbend up to the Tree of Time in that certain scene. She could also water bend. And so it's safe to assume she could bend all four elements without having Rava. And so in this case, if there was a soul Korra who had all four elements, there was a soul say Janora who was fused to Rava. Again, this is me theorizing here on how the twin theory could work. These souls could go throughout time and it would have to be a 1 in a billion chance that those two souls throughout reincarnation died at the same time, and then they were born into a set of twins. That's to me, that's the only way that the Avatar twin theory could actually work, where you split off some type of essence or characteristics of the Avatar to two separate people. But again, that one thing that was a theory, and also it wouldn't make sense because Korra, as we know, refused with Rava.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
to me, that was the only specific way that you could ever have twin avatars.
this is not me not liking your work because it was just theorizing like the how could it work.
Yeah,
But I don't even like that because in my mind, Rava is like an intelligent being fusing to a soul, right? And it's just Rava going on to the next soul, not related at all to happenstance, like not a randomization so much as Rava jumping
yeah,
to the next thing, and there's like an
yeah.
intelligent, like some intelligent election on Rava's part. So even that I don't. But that's there again. That's my own headcanon. Is that she's
Yeah.
playing a role in that. But anyway,
All right. The next piece. So we'll get to. They go on to say in their next article, she can only communicate with Avatar Korra, which is a, which is a given because Korra
because it
doesn't
is
have
a given.
connection. Because Korra broke off that connection to all the past lives, so the next Avatar should and would only have access to Korra, and then after that, the Avatar, like the next Avatar, would have access to Korra and the next Avatar after Korra. It just restarts. Um,
They went from analog to digital, and now they don't cross communicate past that. It's messy. It's crazy.
yeah. They say the sequence we've seen. Future been paying. We learned that. So it says we learned that the Earth Avatar's name is Pavi, and she seems to be very young, maybe 10. She has a hood and is running down those streets of a city called Alora City. She runs directly into an older teenager named Jay. She earthbends a pillar and he begins to airbend. Anyway, so now let's talk about the character design that we can't show because we don't want to get our video taken down
We
and stuff like that.
too much of Chris's income it comes from these videos.
I
Too
looked
much.
yesterday at the analytics of my best video, which was Who Did Zuko Marry,
Sure,
which
sure.
I did not put that much work into, but it was my best video. It did, so it's done 1.1 million views over its life and has made about $1,500.
Sick. That's
Right.
great.
So but then I think about YouTubers who actually try to have YouTube as a career, and I'm like, that means in order to make just like $50,000 for a salary, you'd have to make like 40 banger videos that all did a million views, and you get no benefits and stuff.
I
Like,
know, man. You oof. And I know, listen, there's other pros and cons about, I don't know, working your own schedule, running your business, when write-offs associated, blah, blah, blah. But like at at like a bird's eye, that sounds really hard.
yeah,
But once you build
I
up a good
know.
stash, maybe once you get over the hump, and if you don't get canceled for doing canceling things, then you've got your base of videos that probably keep getting some residual cash.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds really hard.
All right. Character design of this character, supposedly called Pavi. She has darker skin complexion than any character I've ever seen in Avatar, besides that one random black kid in Boss and
The one, but
there's, there's, maybe he's not black. Maybe he's just
and
very
his
dark and
name is Token. South Park reference.
yeah. Um. Anyway, she's very darker complexion. Um. She looks poor. She has an amputee leg. That's interesting. But I think, I mean, I like her. To me, this character design says a lot about her. Um, I like the character design itself, from the hair to the clothes to the raggedness of it. I think it speaks a lot, and that's what character design is supposed to do.
I mean, just a cursory glance. It's man, it's so hard. I don't want to put too much stock into this stuff, but when I just
Yeah,
glance, my reaction is, "Oh, cool."
yeah.
It
It's
just
funny because like
it
the
feels
first,
like the robot
uh,
monkey. It feels like we could say, "Oh, cool," and then in a half a year, it could be taken away from us or something. But so that's where it stops.
yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to get like the first official look, if this is even the character. Um, it's an interesting thing about the first look of Korra. Like that that first image of Korra was, it has so much going on in that image. It's the image of her sitting on top like of a bridge that's overlooking Republic City, and it that image itself, I think, said a whole bunch of stuff about the world. And like, she was sleeveless, she was clearly like muscular and stuff. It was, I want, not too muscular, but like, anyway, that character design I think is great and says a lot. Um, yeah, and this other character, I am. So they say it's a guy. All I see is Kuvira in this picture. Um,
Kuvira does have like a
yeah,
metro-ish
that's
appearance
true.
or
That is,
androgynous. Is that a good word?
maybe.
I'd have to Google it.
But yeah, she does have a little part more masculine features, traditionally masculine features. It's just, I don't know. But I get what you're saying. Because yeah, even in the comic book, when Kuvira has like, I wasn't sure who it was on the cover of the Ruins of Empire. I was like, oh, that's Kuvira, because her hair was like down, similar to how it is on this person's picture. I don't know who this person is. Apparently, it's her airbending teacher. I kind of like this character design as a futuristic kind of look. Like, all right, here's where they are at in the future. Not for an air nomad, but just for a person who airbends. For an air nomad, it'd be terrible. This would be like, what the heck? Why did they get so modern? Um, there's nothing. It looks more like an. I get more Earthbender vibes from this person. Again, that maybe it's just the Kavira thing that reminded me of Kavira.
Just trying to live in a modern world, Chris.
Yeah, but I like the little animal thingy. But it could be a cool design.
Yeah.
So I have no issues with it. Some horrible people are like, "Can't believe an Avatar lost their leg." I'm like, that's dumb. And that's very, very small fraction of just seen it a few times. It looks cool.
Yeah. It's an interesting for like at a bare minimum. It's intriguing. Makes you want to know where they go with it.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the actual official stuff. No speculation. All official stuff.
Finally, some hard data.
We got some new timelines on the Avatar Studios website. Couple different callouts. Um, so they released a new timeline, and they put in there like, if you go to the site, it shows one thing. They start doing dates in like measuring it in terms of harmonic convergence. So instead of measuring it from like BG and AG, as in before genocide and after genocide, which will be a weird way, like in story to mark, like, I guess it wouldn't be a weird way. I mean, it did shape the world, like before comment, after comment, I guess. But the to my approval, the timeline is now on a biharmonic convergence date. So yeah. So Korra, so let's say, so Juan was technically born in -20, right? The Aang was born in 9,817.
Of course,
So
obviously.
yeah, Korra was born in 9,983 because by the time harmonic convergence comes around, that 10,000, she's about 17 or 18 years old. Now, the timeline says, if you look at the timeline, they also say in between the time of Wan and Yang Chen, there's been more than 90 avatars. So they're actually starting to get a little more defined on how many avatars there were. But they still need to stay vague because I don't like 90. Because 90, that's not enough. It's not enough for two reasons. That would mean that the average lifespan of an avatar is like 110 years old, somewhere around there.
That's pretty steep.
Well, even if you so they say between that time, right? So if you go 90 in between Yang Chen and Wan, so you add in if you want to add Wan, so that's 91, and there's another six avatars that we know of up to Korra. So then that's like you're at like 96 or 97. That was still I don't have a calculator on this. Where's my calculator? Where's my calculator? Oh, there it is. That is still, if my calculations are correct. Um, yeah, it's like 103 years old, which to me is too old. Like for the average age of, that's too old for an average age of anyone, let alone an avatar who puts their life at risk all the time.
It
But and
Yeah,
then
I
some,
mean
and then
that
I
does feel too long to me. That's got to be like a couple of Kyoshis in there stretching out the old average.
yeah. And then not to make fun of this person, but they I said this on Twitter and someone's like, no, actually it's perfect because the because if you look at the average age of all the avatars we know of, the average age is actually like 111, right? And then you take 111 divided by 10,000, that gets you to about 90 or whatever. They did some type of math on there. And then, politely, I was like, well, you got to take out the outliers because like Kyoshi is 230, and you take those out, and then even you got to take out Quirk because Quirk died at 33, and they say that 33 was really young for an avatar to die in. You take that out, average age is probably around 80. Long story short, there should probably be about at least 100. I think there should be between 115 and 140 avatars. That puts the age around 80, somewhere around there. Um, but again, one thing they said more than 90. So if I had to guess, they probably said, "Hey, what's the range of how many avatars we actually have?" And someone probably was like, "Well, probably 90 to 150." And they're like, "All right, let's just say more than 90, just to keep it vague enough."
I
Which hey,
mean,
that's cool.
yeah, that's intentionally loose terminology.
Yes, yes. Um, so if I had to guess now with that, yeah. Anyway, also there, even in the statue room itself, like remember in Southern Air Temple when Aang went to go see it. If you look at that scene, there's like 40 on the floor because I just counted. And then if you look up, because it has like a freaking swirling thing of Avatar statues, there's at least 90 or probably at least 80 or so that you count, like bare minimum 80 count up the walls and stuff like that.
Can I tell
So
you?
90.
Can I tell you a secret that I don't know if we've ever discussed before?
Sure.
That scene bugs the hell out of me. Where'd they get all them statues? How'd they procure them statues? The other air temples get the same statues? Is that like a shrine to all of them because all their lights glow up? That's like, there's so many things about that scene that in hindsight, not at the time when they made it, I understand they didn't have all the lore that we have now. But in hindsight, that scene opens up so many questions like what we're talking about now, for which there's not good answers, that it makes me mad.
I mean, no, I think just specifically the Southern Air Temple is like, listen, we're gonna keep track of the Avatar statues. If you want
So
to come see,
was there already a southern air temple when some of the first avatars were going down, right? Like
I get what you're saying
did
now.
they build
Uh,
backwards at a
they must
certain
have
point?
built in retrospect, probably from documented, written down characteristics of these avatars.
Does one technically count
Because yeah,
as a firebender? With being the first avatar was from the fire.
yeah,
Okay, interesting.
yeah. And Juan has a statue there,
Right.
and
So
it's
the
fairly
next
accurate.
one being a an airbender, I suppose if there's already a temple of just not air nomads, just regular nomads that happen to be air people, I don't know, but I guess I can let it slide to be like, all right, well, the next avatar came out of that very old air temple that existed just for regular monks. And then, like, holy crap, that kid can bend air and some other stuff. Let's make a statue.
Yeah, and then they're like, we've already made. It's like when you start collecting stuff. It's like we already got two of the three avatars. I guess I'll make a third statue, and then at some point down the line, they'll be like, "Oh yeah," and out of respect and practice, we make all the statues when it was only just a collectible thing.
the I gotta have the full set.
Yeah, I'm glad that that temple was never destroyed. You can't destroy that temple. You can destroy the Eastern Air Temple though. It's like who cares about that? But can't destroy the Southern Air Temple.
Listen, I bet it goes down when Korra crushes the whole world.
Ooh man, that'd be a great scene. Holy crap! Yeah, I mean not as great a scene of actually losing the connection to the past lives,
And
but
then all the and then all the Aang people are gonna come out and be like, see what she did? How
yeah.
awful.
Okay. Other notable thing, the biggest notable thing for me, which grinds my gears to a certain point. They say that the book, The Legacy of Yang Chen, takes place in 9,347, right? So we already confirmed when Korik died, when how old Kyoshi was, how old Roku was, how old Aang was. So with that knowledge, you can then backtrack into how old Yang Chen was now, because before we had no confirmation on when Yang Chen died, how old she was, right? Even me and you were guessing like maybe she was 80 or
It
something.
felt educated.
Yeah. Apparently, according to this, which I hope they change, honestly, she lives to 154, which is it's too much for, and I'm sure they'll make it make sense, but that's that's very old. She
That's
lives
very
twice
old.
as long as Roku.
And she does not seem to live a lifestyle that feels conducive to living extra long. Like it feels
Yeah.
like we're missing an important component of her survival.
Yeah, and the thing I don't like about that is one, to me it doesn't make sense why a person would live that old. And then granted I know they can make it make sense, like the same way they
Well,
make
sure.
Kyoshi make sense. But that also Kyoshi being that old to me made Kyoshi special. Like holy crap, Kyoshi lived 230 years old. Like that's freaking rare. And to have someone live 150 is like, all right, that's not as special.
That's barely cool.
Yeah. What you have any thoughts about Yang Chen living in 154?
I think that our original guess felt founded in the reality of the information that we had. And it's not that, I mean, not that I think that they are wrong. And like you said, they'll make it make sense. But I was a little sad because it felt like we put a lot of thought into our postulations.
Yeah, we did have a lot of conversations around.
It kind of reminds me of like growing up in Catholic school and they're talking about the Bible and there's like lots of allusions like with the Bible to people living like insanely long times. Like They're just going to be like, no, people in, Avatar 1 and those early Airbenders, they all lived to be like 300 or something like that. It's before the world was dangerous and full of cancer and microwaves.
Yeah.
They all
And that's
lived
the thing also
forever.
that they're like, all right, you want to say that if the average avatar's lifespan is like 105 years old, you're talking about from the beginning of almost time where they were living in like very terrible conditions that the average avatar lived to be 105. Like, I'm sure their medicine wasn't as good, their health wasn't as good, all these. And I understand that I am attributing real world things to a card, but still,
Yeah, I think, well, we'll see.
yeah.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and then I'll complain after the fact.
But so I gotta ask myself, because I love analysis and stuff. Even before, I had this tracker in here of tracking, like, all right, when does the Sozins comet come around? How many times does it come around for each avatar? Right. So I already had this built into this Excel sheet that I had, Sean. So I looked, and I was like, I did have to update some formulas and stuff. But so Aang has two Sozins comets, right? Has them in 9,000, 9829, and 9929 because it lives 166. Kyoshi had three. Yang Chen has, now with this knowledge, has one. But it's really iffy because Yang Chen being 154 makes it to where she was born really close. And again, these numbers are estimates because we don't know exactly when the dates and stuff of all their birthdays are. It's within the margin era. She was pretty much born. It could be alluded to that she was born during in a year of Sozin's comet. So it's like, why would they go out their way to make her 154? I feel like they're probably making. So I'm saying that Yang Chen was born during Sozin's comet, which means Zeto died during a Sozin's comet. And if I had to guess, that's purposeful, and that's why they made 154. They probably had to choose between 54 and 154. It's like, well, do we want Yang Chen to die at 54? I would. I would have made that.
No, that's too depressing.
Choosing between the two, I would have had her die at 54 than
Well,
154.
we got to get our average age up to 105. We can't have her dying at 54.
Yeah,
We got
we
these,
got we got we got
these other
Kurik and
numbers to
Roku
meet.
911 to yeah. Um.
That's got to
So
be it.
they must be.
We nailed
I
it,
think
Chris. It's
they're
got to be.
I think they're planning some Zeto story where Zeto dies during Sozin's comet. But I don't think it will. One thing, maybe hopefully we'll have our story out before then, because I like to try and stay within canon at least until it's rewritten. But it won't affect. I don't think it would affect like the early stuff we're planning in Zeto's career. But when we're initially thinking about Zeto, wouldn't line up with or is there initially thinking about how Zeto would end his life wouldn't line up with this, but or he could just die peacefully during a comet, like he just gets overage with the power the comet and dies, and
Reminds me of a commercial for like a sex pill that warns you not to have intercourse if your heart's not suited for it.
you know what's weird, Sean, is that my brain went to something like that, some type of like,
He had a
but
comet gasm
don't know,
while he was laying in bed.
don't know, don't know why we were on that same
That's just what it
mind.
feels like. It was too stimulating for him, and then his heart stopped.
Maybe that's what. Oh, the
Poor Zeto. Or maybe not poor Zeto. Maybe that's how he wanted to go out.
anyway, so that means Zeto died somewhere around. It can't be a coincidence that they made Yang Chen in 154, and yeah,
Even if they don't have plans for it immediately, it seems like something they're like, yeah, we could do something with that.
I don't know why they released a timeline to begin with. Why pigeonhole yourself to? Well, probably because they already have everything stuff.
Yeah,
But that's it on the timeline and things like that. Timeline and news.
perfect. Chris, next week I'm gonna complain to you about how you and Gio are making me watch Attack on Titan. We'll do some blind rankings. Come back if that sounds interesting. If not, I'm not your boss. Thanks for watching Avatar: The Last Podcasters. I'm Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Blueski. Leave likes, subs, positive reviews, comments, thumbs up, ring bells, whatever things you can do, positive interactions. We appreciate them all. Thank you, and we will see you next time.